The scorpions had somewhere to crawl under warm. The leeches were right next to your ear. It was good.
Despite the presence of the SAS, the Borneo confrontation was fast approaching boiling point. Indonesian special forces began attacking police stations and villages 30 miles inland from the border, knowing the British would not respond in kind. But this was about to change. Determined to show that the British Army were not toothless, Dennis Healy sanctioned secret cross-border raids into Indonesia. They were called Claret operations. The Claret operations were so secret, not even the SAS patrols knew where their other patrols were going.
We'd all be called up to the opsman. On the wall there would be a map of our divisional area. Curtains would be, thick blue curtains would be closed. The curtain would be open to where you are, not the rest. I kept trying to take a peek at the others, and it would only show you where your area was and where your patrol's going. You'd drop off at a helipad and you knew that you were your friendly side of the border. You knew you were down maybe 300 or 400 yards before you went across the border, but it was very difficult until you could get down and really study your map.
Once over the border, the SAS would never follow tracks. They knew what surprises might be left in store for them.
These traps could be set anywhere. Make a hole as easily as that. The bullet is put in with the bullet facing upwards and the cartridge at the bottom end onto a pin. When the weight of a man goes on the top, the bullet is pressed down on the pin and explodes and sends the shot up through your leg. Cover it and you stand on it and it explodes at that point. They were a very ingenious invention of the Vietnam War.
As it turned out, these traps would prove the least of their worries. Though the British government had authorized secret cross-border raids into Indonesia, they did not want to be drawn into a war. The SAS would operate as pathfinders, finding targets for larger forces. The Indonesians knew the SAS patrols were only 4 men strong. If captured over the border, they could expect little mercy. So once again, it was the IBAN trackers who helped them find the way. This was their own backyard, and they had a few old scores to settle.
I went out on patrol and shot this Indonesian guy who was hiding in a tree. I went forward, drew my parang, and brought it down on his head. But the British officer put his arm out and stopped me. The blade went straight into the guy's face. I said, "Why did you do that? I've just killed him. He belongs to me."
Oh, yeah. The SAS cut heads off as well. I was on patrol down towards Lundu with the SAS, and 3 of them cut the heads off Indonesians. They brought them back because they wanted to make the skulls into lampshades. You know, they put light bulbs in their eye sockets.
As the number of Claret operations increased, the targets became more important.
I was sent in to look for the enemy special forces base. Nearly every time I went in, it was to find the special forces base, and they gave me an area of jungle a few miles square and said, "They're in there somewhere, go and find them." The trick is to do it and hope to Christ you get away with it.
The enemy special forces base was on the Kumba River, a waterway hidden in the deep jungle that the Indonesians used as a major supply route. Its commander, Colonel Muadani, was an important target for the SAS. but so far no one had been able to find the river or his base, because 4 miles of impenetrable swamp protected it from the border. "40 years later, Pete and Lofty have avoided the swamp and taken the sensible route to the Kumba River, by boat. The jungle around it has been cut down, but the distinctive bend in the river that Lofty was looking for is instantly recognizable.
This is more like it. Go right over. That bank looks right. That's it falling.
This is
a good log.
Yeah, the actual spot done.
Actual spot. We reached it in probably the best possible place along 100 miles of river. We knew there was an Indonesian army base between 500 and 1,000 yards west of us. And they had cut-off tracks through the jungle north of us. So when we went out, they were going to be in a good position to get in our way.
Finding the Kumba River was only part of the plan. The 4 men, hiding in a shallow ditch 4 miles inside Indonesia, had to let their enemy know they were there. To take a target of opportunity right next to an Indonesian army base would strike a serious psychological blow. Lofty was waiting for something big, but nothing seemed quite big enough.
He decides he's going to have a Chinese parliament, so he said to me, "Pete, what do you think then?" I said, "I think we've got it the next one, Loft, don't you, and get out of here. And we're never going to get it before it gets dark." So we heard this other boat coming up. All of a sudden he just said, "Stop, stop, stop." So clicked the safety catches back on. And he said, "Hang on," he said, "there's a woman on there."
There could have been other women and there could have been children on the boat. And we don't do that sort of target. So it went. And it was, in fact, the very man we'd been looking for 3 months. Colonel Mordani of the Indonesian Paracommando unit. I mean, he was on the end of my rifle and I let him go. But you can't blat women and kids.
Lofty did not have to wait long for another target. 10 minutes later, another barge lurched towards him.
It came up here.
Yeah.
And then we hit it there. The one facing me saw me. He was in shock, but not for long. And then the one with his back to us who hadn't moved. He was still sat with his back to me when I blotted him.
Without waiting to see what would happen next, the patrol tore back through the jungle before the Indonesians could cut them off. A month later, a company of Gurkhas followed Lofty's route through the swamps and destroyed Colonel Murdani's Special Forces base. It was a major victory for the British. After 2 years of these claret raids, the Indonesians were demoralized. 2,000 of them had lost their lives at a cost of only 134 British soldiers. 3 of them were from the SAS.